Who is the next top prospect you should be watching out for? Will Walker Buehler make his highly anticipated return this year? Join us for a gripping episode as we let you know who to stash on your watch list and IL on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my better half, Matthew Arnett.
Yo, what's up, guys?
You can find us on all social media platforms and podcasting apps. If you're listening on one like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes you to the channel. Also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And once again, if you're watching on the old YouTube, please be sure to like and comment because we love to talk fantasy baseball with you. Guys, we have a fully loaded episode for you today, and as always, let us be your team's secret weapon as we provide you with the best players to stash and players to add to your watch list. Matt, we got a bunch of top prospects we're talking about today, and who we going with first?
Let's talk about possibly the number one prospect in all of baseball right now. Possibly, not, firmly, but Mr. Jordan Westberg. Jordan Westberg, ooh, that's a little weird. Is somebody that's been performing very well in the minors. He's been killing it this season so far, and I'd love to see what he's going to do when he gets to the bigs. Right now on the season, he has 155 at-bats. He has 36 runs. He has 8 doubles, a triple, 12 bombs, 42 ribs, a stolen base, and is batting .323 on the year. Now, I love those numbers, especially the fact that he's doing it in AAA. This is somebody that could possibly, come up and be an instant translation like the rest of Baltimore's, minor league system outside of Gunnar Henderson. He seems to be somebody that's going to take a little bit longer to develop and get used to the bigs. But Westberg just seems to be just another candidate of great, developing by Baltimore. And in 2022, he also had a monster season with 544 at-bats, 96 runs, 39 doubles, 3 triples, 27 home runs, which is phenomenal, 106 ribs, 12 stolen bases, and batted .265. But here's the kicker. Yes, his batting average was down, but in AAA, he was batting .274. So it seems like once he got adjusted to the bigger talent and whatever was going on in the AA situation, he got better as time went on. So I do like the upside of Westberg. I'm not exactly sure what his transition is going to be, but there is that opportunity to play with, Mateo not performing and a few other people just really not getting the job done, which kind of leaves the door open for Westberg to see if he can kind of sneak in there and get some everyday playing time because he plays all over the field, second, third, short. So we could see what happens, and Westberg can easily fit himself right into the lineup, especially if he's able to come up and translate right away. So that's Jordan Westberg.
Matt, you covered Westberg very, very well. Guy's got some pop in that bat, tiny bit of speed, good batting average. I think he's going to be a plus in the batting average department as well. You mentioned the opportunity there with Adam Frazier at second base, not, being, one of the best players. The outfield's got a couple of openings, and Matt mentioned Mateo has been, struggling. So Westberg in the minors has been playing all over the diamond, a lot of infield, some outfield. So he can come up and they can slot him in wherever they need him to. I think it takes one injury or, a couple more weeks of Westberg dominating down there for him to get the call. Baltimore is one of the best records in baseball. So I could totally see them saying, hey, and pushing all their cards in. You might see Westberg. There's a couple other prospects down in Baltimore that I'm sure we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks as well. But Jordan Westberg obviously being the best one, we had to bring him up today and, show him some love. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about, a pitching prospect here. Someone you may have never heard of. It's Ben Brown of the Chicago Cubs. And, the Cubs have been surprising everybody. They've been playing a little bit better. Oh, real quick, Jordan Westberg's 4% owned on Yahoo. So if you add him to your watch list now and just monitor where things go, definitely could keep an eye on him and see where, if he gets the call. You have him on your watch list already. Easy ad. But let's go back to Ben Brown, Chicago Cubs starting pitcher. The guy's got great numbers on the year. 2.33 ERA across 8 starts, 38 innings, 55 strikeouts, and a 1.11 whip. I will throw out there, he has been getting a little bit, hit around since he got moved up to AAA. 4 starts in AAA, 4.34 ERA. Only 18 innings, though, 25 strikeouts, 1.28 whip. Let's see how he adjusts. He's currently 23 years old. Westberg was 24 years old. So we're talking about guys that are at the point in their careers where it's like, all right, they're going to get the call sooner or later. You're not going to let them sit down there, especially when they're performing pretty well. The Cubs pitching staff could use a little bit of help. Justin Steele has, been the guy over there. But besides Justin Steele, they really don't have a fantastic rotation. Stroman's been pretty good as well. And I kind of forget Drew Smiley, but Tyon's been getting rocked. They don't really have a 5th guy there. So I could see them turning to Ben Brown and throwing him the ball and saying, hey, see what you could do out there, brother. We've been seeing a lot of starting pitching prospects get called up this season, from Fott to Bibby, and the rest of them, and some of them have been better than others, but, it looks like teams are giving these pitchers the chance. I think Ben Brown deserves it. He's been good his whole minor league career. 2022, 3.38 ERA for Brown across 104 innings, 149 strikeouts, 1.17 whip. Control needs a tiny little bit of work, but he has the strikeout upside, and he's been limiting runs. That's Ben Brown, Chicago Cubs, 2% owned on Yahoo. Throw him on your watch list, see where this thing goes.
Yeah, great take on Ben Brown. I'm interested to see when he does get the call up. I have a feeling it's going to be more of a cup of coffee, towards the end of the year. But you know what? With his performance in the minor, I don't see why you can't at least keep him on the watch list. But let's move on here. Let's talk about another pitcher here, another great pitching prospect, and that's Mr. Gavin Williams. Gavin Williams, one of the top-end Cleveland pitchers down in that farm system, and he's really just smoking the ball right now. Between AA and AAA this year, he's just, doing wonders. He has a 1.58 ERA on the year between both AA and AAA. In AAA, which he got the promotion, has had more starts in, he has a 2.10 ERA. He started about 5 games. He has 2 wins out of that, 25 innings total. He has a grand total of 36 Ks. So that's well over that K per 9. And I love to see that, especially from a young pitching prospect, and a 0.97 whip. So the controls there, he's not really letting anything up. And we all know what Gavin Williams can do when he plays a full season, because in 2022, for instance, between A plus and AA and 115 innings, my guy had a 1.96 ERA and 149 strikeouts. Now that strikeout potential is outrageous. Again, another great Cleveland prospect in terms of pitching. They're just pumping out pitchers left and right. I love it. Gavin Williams has a lot of upside, and I really do like him a lot. Now, I don't know what his impact is going to be the second he gets the call. Could be right away. It could be, a little time to get adjusted. But I think that ultimately Gavin Williams at least worth a watch, and then definitely an ad once he gets the call due to the fact of the upside. So definitely keep an eye on Gavin Williams.
Yeah, I'll say this, Matt. I think Gavin Williams is the best pitching prospect that has not made his debut yet in MLB. He's very, very talented, very good at suppressing runs. He's got big strikeout upside. The control is actually what I love over the last 3 years for Gavin Williams. He's been stellar with that control, with the sub-1 whip in, every single season. He actually has a sub-2 ERA in every season over the last 3 years as well. So this kid's got absolute monster talent. 9% owned on Yahoo for Gavin Williams. And, we saw Tanner Bybee come up and be successful. I see a lot of the same for Gavin Williams. And taking a look at, that Cleveland rotation, there's a couple of spots. Cal Quantrill is not somebody I'm a big fan of. Logan Allen has slowed down quite a bit after that hot start. Hunter Gaddis is not somebody I'm a fan of as either. So, with that being said, there's definitely opportunity there in the lineup. Something we haven't talked about yet on this show at all is the Super 2 deadline. It's not something that there's a definitive date on, but, if the teams don't call these guys up before the Super 2, they gain an extra year of control. So we'll see where that goes. But before we move on, my brother Matt, I believe we got somebody to talk about real quick.
Yep. And just so everybody knows what's coming up as well, we're going to have Curtis Mead, Bo Naylor, and Walker Buehler, whether he will pitch this season or not. So definitely stay tuned for that. Rocket Money is a professional finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and help you lower your bills all in one place. Try it for free for 30 days, just enough time to try it, and then completely forget about it. In fact, over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. You could waste money and not even realize it. Rocket Money helps you find those forgotten subscriptions so you can stop paying for ones you don't use. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, but in actuality, it's closer to $200. If you don't know exactly how much you're spending every month, you need Rocket Money. Rising prices stressing you out? If you're looking for ways to cut costs, you need Rocket Money. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easiest way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. We also want to thank our everydayers, our new listeners, for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Be sure to look out for a new episode tomorrow where Dom and I talk about waiver wire pickups that you must add for your team. Also, we want to thank everybody for who's been recommending our show and that you can continue doing so. We're really trying to hit that 2,000 mark, and we really need your help to do so. So if you can, please share it with a friend that likes baseball or that's into fantasy baseball. We'd really appreciate it. It does go a long way to help support the podcast. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. Dom, why don't you take it away, sir?
Yeah. And guys, as we mentioned, we are working on growing our following here on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube right now, you see we got this nice new layout here. Shout out to Locked On and everyone at the graphics department that worked on this to get it going for us. So with this new look and everything, hey, share it with your friends. Be like, hey, Locked On Fantasy Baseball got this new look. Close to 2,000 subscribers. Help us out. But let's keep it pushing here. Let's talk about Curtis Mead. Now, he's not Kyle Manzardo, somebody we have talked about in this podcast before, but, Curtis Mead, that I actually see a path for him, making his big league debut possibly at some point this year. Isaac Paredes is all right. Harold Ramirez is decent as well. So there is a couple of spots on the team that, hey, there might be a spot for the kid. He isn't absolutely out there dominating this year in the minors. He only's got 2 home runs, 221 batting average. But, he has a past of being very, very good. Let's talk about Curtis Mead's 2022 season, where he played only 76 games, 282 at-bats. So keep that in mind as I'm reading you these numbers. 43 runs in 76 games, 13 bombs, 27 doubles, 50 RBIs, 7 steals with a 298 batting average. So Curtis Mead's got pop. He can steal a few bases. He's always been a pretty solid batting average guy. That's why it's a little surprising to see him struggling in the batting average department so far this year. Not one of the biggest names we're talking about today, but definitely somebody to keep an eye on. That's Curtis Mead of the Tampa Bay Rays. They like to slow play their young kids, so it might be a little bit. He's 3% owned on Yahoo, but he's 2nd and 3rd eligible, so that definitely could help your team. Throw him on the watch list, see where things go with Curtis Mead.
Great take, Dom. I really don't even think I need to add anything to it. Let's move on here. Let's talk about Mr. Bo Naylor. Catcher for Cleveland Indians, finally got the call up the other day. Looks like he got 2 at bats and did nothing with it. Got the quick little cup of coffee last year, it seems. I just don't have those numbers in front of me.
It was only 5 games. He didn't actually accumulate any stats in those 5 games, so
right.
That doesn't really matter.
Thank you so much. And but before he got that call last year, before he got the call this year, he had 148 at bats. He had 29 runs. He had 8 doubles, a triple, 9 bombs, 32 ribbies. And my guy was hitting about 257. I mean, that's pretty much where I think he's going to be, is at 257, but he has an opportunity to have some pop to that bat with a 21 home run season in 2022. He had, to go with that, 68 runs, 68 RBIs, and 20 stolen bases. So he'll be able to at least, carry you in multiple categories without killing you in your batting average. So I really do like Bo Naylor. Can he actually translate to the bigs is TBD due to the fact that we haven't really seen him do anything with his limited opportunities. So let's just see. I pray that he can, because he could be a nice influx, especially with the catcher situation going on where really nobody's really performing. I mean, it's guys that have drafted like Alejandro Kirk. This can be somebody that you might want to target for your watch list. And if he starts getting hot, I'd scoop him up just based on the fact that Kirk is doing squats. So we shall see. But Bo Naylor, definitely take a look at and at least keep him on your watch list.
Yeah, I like Bo Naylor. I think Bo Naylor's got a lot of upside. 23-year-old catching prospect with the Guardians. As Matt mentioned, they called him up for the doubleheader the other day as the 27th man. He got 2 at-bats, didn't really do anything. But that's the thing. When you're playing such limited time in the bigs, it's hard to, gauge anything from that. With Bo Naylor played 5 games last year, didn't do anything. But in the minors, he's been pretty solid. Let's talk about that 2022 for Bo Naylor. 52 games, 170 at-bats, 29 runs. He had 12 doubles, 2 triples, 6 bombs, 21 RBIs, 11 steals, and a 271. So for a catcher, he's actually got some speed. He's definitely got some pop. The batting average is a little suspect, as Matt mentioned. I could see him being a 250, maybe a 260 guy on a good year. But at catcher, you'll take that. As Matt mentioned, a lot of catchers have stunk this year. Like Mike Zunino, who is currently catching for the Guardians. I don't know how long they're going to put up with that. The guy's batting under the Mendoza line, which is, under 200. And Cleveland's in position to strike. They got, surprisingly, Detroit's 2.5 games, a game and a half above them. And then they got the Twins, who, are in first place with a 25-23 record. So they're within striking distance. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Gavin Williams call, if we see the Bo Naylor call, and they're like, Cleveland pushes all their chips in because they could be the best team in that division, which isn't very good. So we'll see where things go. But let's move on here to somebody that Matt and I are super, super excited to talk about, and it's Walker Buehler. Guys, good news on the Walker Buehler front. If you have not been paying attention, Walker Buehler might make his debut this year. It kind of reminds me of Tyler Glasnow last year, in the sense of everyone thought Glasnow was not going to come up and pitch last year. And he did, and he helped a lot of teams win. I know he helped me win a couple of championships last year. I think Walker Buehler has the same chance. The latest quote from Walker Buehler came on Tuesday when he told reporters that he's targeting a September 1st return to the Dodgers rotation. That will be a little bit over the 12 months. So there's a chance that he even comes back a little bit sooner than that. Maybe the end of August. Maybe that's pushing it, because I know Glasnow got maybe like 5 or 6 starts down in the minors last year before he made his official return. But if Walker Buehler does, let's just talk about, I know his last season wasn't great in the bigs, but let's talk about what Walker Buehler, the type of pitcher he is on his career, because maybe people have forgotten about how good of a talent Walker Buehler actually is when he's out there healthy and doing his thing. So on his whole career, Walker Buehler has 46 wins, 16 losses, 3.02 ERA, 106 starts, 638 innings, 690 Ks with a 103 whip. Walker Buehler is currently, if he's not 29, he will be 29 on July 28th. This is his birthday. He will be 29 years old. He's still fairly young, and he is currently available he's only 19% owned on Yahoo. So I'll say this. If you have the IL spot, I think you kind of just pick him up, throw him down there, and see where things go. If you don't, throw him on the watch list and, keep your eye on him over the next couple of weeks. We will keep you updated here on Locked On Fantasy Baseball of what's going on with Walker Buehler. But, guys, he could be making his debut this year, which wasn't truly expected at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of counted him out and even rank him, let alone, think about anything but adding him as one of my IL's pickups for next year if I was in a keeper league or dynasty startup. So, it's one of those things where, Walker Buehler has the potential to be, the top arm in all of baseball, if not top 3. I love Walker Buehler. Dom thinks that's a little bullish. I mean, most of you guys might.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little higher than I would go. But, hey, man, he's got talent.
Something. I mean, if we all look at what he did a couple years ago before he got hurt, Walker Buehler had all the right things for you. You know what I'm saying? In 2021, with 207 at bats, I mean, my guy had 212 At bats, I'm sorry,
107 innings.
innings pitched, 212 strikeouts. My guy had a 2.47 ERA. Like, you think about that, those are elite numbers. Like, Walker Buehler could be very elite. Going into last year, he was my number one pitcher for fantasy baseball. I love Walker Buehler. I am a big fan of Walker Buehler. Now let's rein in the expectations when he does get that call. It's going to be a mess. He's not going to be the, sub 3 ERA guy, but that upside, it could be unlimited. And I love the Walker Buehler upside. But Dom has some great people to talk about. But before I let him go, I just want to let you guys know we got Tyler O'Neill, AJ Puck, and what to expect from Kyle Wright.
Today's episode is sponsored by the clothing company Bird Dogs. Looking for clothes that redefine comfort and style? Look no further than Bird Dogs. They've crafted the perfect blend of performance and fashion to bring you shorts, pants, and tops that will revolutionize your wardrobe. With stretchy fabric that makes your legs look great, they're not only stylish, but also comfier than any other shorts or pants you own. They give you the freedom to wear one pair of shorts or pants on the golf course, to a meeting, on a date, or even if you're just hanging out with your friends. Bird Dog just sent Matt and I some shorts, and we're absolutely obsessed with them so far. As I said, I've been wearing them a lot on the weekends when I go out, and you guys would be shocked at how many compliments I've gotten on the shorts from Bird Dogs. They're absolutely great, super comfortable. Go and check out Bird Dogs. You can go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. And once you enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. But, Matt, who do we got up next, brother?
We got Mr. Tyler O'Neill. Somebody that's
your favorite player in the league.
Yeah, we could say that. But here's the thing now. I wouldn't draft him. Like, that was never my thing. But here's the thing. We're in season now. He's 55. He's only 55% owned. So, like, in the 45% of leagues that he is available, I'm willing to take a shot on him because, power is just limited this year. And he can, when he is healthy, he can boost you out up to the next level. So Tyler O'Neill is definitely at least worth a stash, if not just a watch. I don't know when he's going to get back because right now he's still dealing with a back injury. He's not ready for activity, but he's somebody that we need to bring to attention that, hey, let's keep an eye on him because once he starts ramping up, gets that rehab game, that's when I might pull the trigger to go, hey, you're sitting on my IL until you're ready, bud. So that's Tyler O'Neill for you.
Yeah, they're saying that, O'Neill might go out on a rehab assignment later this week, or if not, maybe next week. So I'd say he's about 2 or 3 weeks off of returning. As Matt would say, he's a little bit of a phalanges guy over the last few years. Once again, if you're not familiar with the term phalanges, just something that Matt came up with that's absolutely funny term that a lot of the fans have loved. Just means that you're injury prone. You're in the Mondesi, Buxton category. And O'Neill has been there recently over the last 2 years. But when O'Neill's doing his thing, let's talk about that 2021 Tyler O'Neill had 138 games, 482 at-bats, 89 runs, 26 doubles, 2 triples, 34 bombs, 80 RBIs, 15 steals, and 286 batting average. I don't think he's ever going to hit 286 on a full season again. But O'Neill's almost 6 foot, 200 pounds of pure muscle. If you ever seen this guy, he is absolutely ripped. So he likes to keep in shape. So that's why you can count on him from a lot of power and a decent amount of speed when he's out there. He just has to stay out on the field. I think he could hit 260, a lot of pop, get you some steals. And that Cardinals team's playing a lot better. In that Cardinals lineup, he can see a lot of runs and a lot of RBIs. It's really just dependent on him doing it. As Matt mentioned, he's 55% owned on Yahoo. I think Tyler O'Neill, if you have an open IL spot, unlimited IL spots, he's definitely somebody you should stash and just see where things go. Let's move on, though, to a closer here. It's AJ Puck, somebody that we've recommended on this podcast a few times, this year and last year. He still is working his way back, from the injury. He's down to 59% owned on Yahoo. He might have, been dropped in a few of your leagues. He was dealing with a dead arm phase, which, happens to a lot of pitchers. Not something I'm really, really worried about. You see it pretty often in baseball. At 28 years old, Puck was having a strong season with a 3.07 ERA, 1.23 WHIP, 6 saves, 14 innings, 19 Ks. The thing is when he comes back, he's going to have to deal with Dylan Floro, who's actually, flourished in the closer's role, and he's closed before in Miami. I could see them, splitting the job or seeing where things go. Maybe the managers liked what Puck was doing. I'll say it's just it might be a little bit of a deeper league play. I think you stash him on your IL and you kind of just see where the thing goes. If he comes back, he starts getting saves again. You're lucky. If he comes back and he's not getting saves again, then, I mean, it's an easy drop. But with the closer situation the way it is this year, not a lot of great closers out there. I think Puck is just a throw him on your IL and see where things go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always loved Puck as a talent. So Miami.
Yeah, talent says that's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And Miami spent a little bit of capital to go and get him. So it's one of those things where he might just have the job just based off of what they went out and did to acquire him. We shall see. But let's move on here. Let's talk about Mr. Kyle Wright and will he return to ace form? So here's the thing. He started off the season with, the shoulder inflammation. He missed about 3 to 4 weeks, comes out, gets a couple starts, didn't really look good at all. And then goes back out and now gets moved to the 60-day IL. So if you're holding on to him, more respect to you. I outright dropped him in every league I had him. It's just one of those things where I know he's not going to be back for a while. I have a feeling he's going to be back around the same time Walker Buehler is, around that September, late August mark. Shoulder inflammation is something that's key. I feel like they rushed him back because they needed him, with everything going on. So he wasn't really able to take the time to heal. So I think that Kyle Wright might be able to return to ace form if he heals and they don't rush him back to, try and make a playoff run. I think that would be irresponsible of the Braves, but who knows? But Kyle Wright, I think will. And I don't know how elite he's going to be, but I mean, last year he did have a damn good year with 180 innings pitched, 174 strikeouts, a 3.19 ERA with a 1.159 WHIP. Like those numbers are great. That's what you want. And I mean, right now, even though I'm telling you to drop him, I'm telling you to watch him just because, as we get closer to the playoffs, he may be that boost to your rotation that can really take you to the next level and win you that championship. And we're going to call that locked on ship, baby. So hopefully he could be the one that rides, you pick up and he brings you to glory. That's Kyle Wright.
Yeah, Kyle Wright's a little bit more highly owned than players we normally talk about in this type of situation. Kyle Wright's 70% owned on Yahoo, but I think that ownership percentage is just going to keep dropping. It's going to keep dropping and dropping and dropping as people realize, hey, he's on a 60-day IL. He might not return until later in the year, but the upside is there. As Matt read you off, that last year's stats for Kyle Wright are absolutely phenomenal. He actually even won 21 games, which led the league last year. That Braves team is damn good. So, if we hear Kyle Wright is going to, be making his return anytime soon, he's worth throwing on your IL, especially if he was dropped in your league and you have a lot of IL spots. If your team is banged up, though, I don't think you're rushing out there to grab him. And, you're not cutting anybody big to get him either. Not too many guys that are on the IL that I would get rid of for Kyle Wright, but I think he's a watch list type of guy. Throw him on the watch list if he's a free agent in your league, monitor the situation. And of course, stay locked on here at Locked On Fantasy Baseball, and we'll keep you updated on Kyle Wright's situation. But, he's got ace upside, so I think he's definitely somebody you're going to want to target when he comes back. Let's move on to our last guy on the night, and it's Mr. Joc Pederson. And young Joc, Flanges guy, man, that's the easiest way to say it. He's kind of always a little bit banged up. He hasn't really hit his stride yet this season. But, man, Joc Pederson was just really useful last year. And I think that change of scenery going from the Dodgers where, as Matt would say, they Dodger him, which means, the Dodgers just kind of don't really let their guys play as much as they should. Last year, Joc, I said, had a pretty strong year. He played 134 games, 380 at-bats, 57 runs. He had 23 home runs, 70 RBIs, 3 steals, and he had 274. I don't think he's going to hit 274 again, but hey, if he could hit 250 with a lot of pop, which we know Joc Pederson has, he has a 36 home run year, a couple of high 20 home run years. I know San Fran isn't a great team, but you know what? Finding that power off the waiver wire hasn't been very, very easy this season. Joc Pederson is 26% owned. Definitely worth an IL stash or a watch list, ad, just depending on how your situation is on your team. And, once again, that's pretty much it for Joc Pederson. He's just going to provide you with some power, that you probably could use at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we shall see what happens. Maybe he'll come back and return to that all-star form. But, I'm tentative on that, but I do like the fact that, hey, I might be able to scoop up some free power. So definitely at least watch Joc Pederson to see when that return comes. But Dom, take it away, sir.
Yeah, just real quick, I totally forgot to say this. Joc Pederson is dealing with a hand issue. He's still unable to grip the bat. He's been aiming to return actually within the next week or so here. So I think this is an ad that you might want to get on top of, because Joc Pederson will hit his stride. There'll be 2 weeks where Joc Pederson hits like 6 home runs and kind of wins you a week. So he's definitely somebody that, you kind of grab, juice the orange, and, you see where things go. But with that being said, guys, that is all for today's episode. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Check out our website if you already have it. And just a huge thank you to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Be sure to be on the lookout for a new episode tomorrow where Matt and I provide you with the best must-add waiver wire players heading into the weekend. And guys, until then, see you.
Peace.